Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 164 of the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we have an interesting movie this week because interesting that I could have sworn that we've done it already, but Tim went back and said, do you believe we've not done this movie yet? And that movie is Trick or Treat. And so this is since there's basically even though you'll get this movie after Halloween, this is basically our last episode. We're recording before Halloween. So Tim's like, this is our Halloween movie. We need to make something big on this. And then I think we were both floored when we realized we never did this movie.
Yeah, and I can't figure it out. I believe that maybe we talked about it when we did Krampus because, of course, the same director.
And Kim and Kat, of course, with Burps Map have made it such a thing that maybe we just lived vicariously through their episode and thought that we did it.
If for some reason I overlooked that we did this one before, then you're getting a recap or a revision, a new look at it. But I swear, I went back through the entire Libsyn library and looked at all of our episodes, and I did not see it featured. So
it was. I think you're right. It was probably Krampus.
And of course, we bought the Blu-rays at some point, so we would have talked about that. It would have been on Dismemberment. So there's probably I know we've mentioned this movie because it's one of our favorites, but I don't think we've ever done a deep dive into it. So kind of interesting.
And if we did, like Tim said, we're doing a refresher.
Yeah, it's worth refreshing. I watch it every Halloween anyway. So
yeah, and I will. It's in my. I mean, even though you'll have done it, you'll hear this after. This is my like 8 o'clock movie scheduled for the watchathon or watch fest. Basically, it's right, but because I figured this and the original Halloween are my two must watches every Halloween, so I put that at 8 and 10 o'clock. Of course I'm going to finish with the original Halloween because you
have to.
What's more classic than that,
All right, so let's get right to it. This is our first chop. All right, Brian. So with the horror movie challenge going on, I really don't have a whole lot. Everything I've been watching has been going directly towards the challenge, but I should be finishing up probably tomorrow or Wednesday. We're recording this on a Monday night, so midweek I'll be done with the challenge and can kind of start watching some TV shows because I haven't caught up on Bly Manor. I need to catch up on Lovecraft Country. Great. There's a ton of stuff. Because I've just kind of let it go because I've been watching nothing but movies for the horror challenge. But
yeah. Plus, I want you to see how much the girl in that is going to remind you of a British version of your daughter. Yeah. So I ended up watching a bunch of stuff along with the horror challenge somehow. But this one was easy. The Never Hike in the Snow. That's it's actually a prequel to Never Hike in the Woods. That amazing Jason Family. So it turns out this is a prequel. And it's, based on the title, it's basically, a hiker goes missing because, in the snow and he encounters Jason. But it's cool because it's got the characters from part 6. It's got Tom Matthews reprising his role, of course, as Tommy Jarvis. But even funnier, it's got the deputy, Rick, from part 6 is in that. Which is kind of cool. Yeah, and he plays his own character also. I'm going to butcher his name, but I think it's Vincent. Okay, that part not. But Guastafaro is how it is. And he plays Sheriff Rick Cologne. And of course, I like this one. I think, kind of think I like the first one a little more, though. Maybe because I didn't know what to expect in that first one. Mm-hmm. And this one has a little bit, more like, dialogue and interaction like that. I think the cool one was because it was all isolation in the first one with just the main character trying to escape. I think I liked that kind of element. This had a lot more dialogue in it and stuff. So maybe, it was still great. Don't get me wrong. It's still a great short film, but I think I prefer the Never Hike in the Woods a little better.
Okay. Yeah, I still want to check
So you got to check it out. It's free on YouTube. They release it free on the Womp Stomp YouTube site, so they're pretty cool like that.
Cool.
So the next one I watched, another screener we got, and this is one we talked about the dismemberment. This was Chop Chop, as we say. No, it's Chop Chop. This one was okay. So I got to tell you, this one's gonna be. I'm gonna try and describe this the best I can without obviously spoiling anything into the movie. But this one, when I started to watch it, I was very, very confusing, and I think it's intentional. And a lot of other reviews I saw on this say the same thing. They're like, I watched this thing, I don't know what happened. I really don't. I think. My guess is that the plot is supposed to be very basic, and it's just supposed to be all the different characters and the sequences that they get into are kind of the meat of this movie. And if you look at it like that, it's actually like I did not think I was going to enjoy this movie once it started going. Like it started off really really slow, and then had this really cool sequence, which you might have seen in the trailer, and I'm like, oh, is this where this is going? This is going to be cool. But then it kind of did a reversal, and it started to just be almost like this kind of like couple on the run and getting in all these sordid crime details. But the thing is it all still connects, and it all still gets pretty cool. It's like I think I described this to you as Tim. I said it's basically like if Tarantino and David Lynch kind of got together, and it was like because I feel like there's some Pulp Fiction kind of thing in there meets like Mulholland Drive. There's just some really unique characters in there, and this one guy, I swear to God, he looks like he's cosplaying as like an adult Macaulay Culkin if he were to be like almost like the dude from but not laid back in any means, just hanging around. He hangs around in a bathrobe. This whole scenes in this movie, but it's really just like the characters are. There's some total David Lynch style character, like remember like the cowboy from like in the Mulholland Drive. So it's like there's a lot of like weird elements to this, and there's a lot of just scenes patched together kind of thing. But when I was done with it, I actually said, you know what? I really like this movie. I actually enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to, but I think you just have to wait and see it as a whole, and just to see how all these crazy characters and all these crazy situations intertwine together, and it works. So it's like I see why people, some people may have been upset with not understanding it, but I think sometimes people expect too much, like cut and dry. Here's what's happening. Here's what's happening. Here's what's happening in a movie. But I think sometimes it's better you don't get it. And as long as you can fill it with enough like colorful and obscure characters and weird situations that keep you on your toes, I think the movie could work on that level too. And so I actually ended up really liking it.
Cool.
So yeah, so that's one definitely you want to check out, Tim.
Nice. Yeah, I will.
So I've been going still on with my Amityville Project somehow in this whole thing. I've still been able to keep this. Oh, and I did double down. I actually watched 2 Amityvilles on this week, because one I decided to use for the horror challenge. I'll get to that one next. But the main one that I was scheduled to watch was that UK documentary, which is called The Real Amityville Horror. It was from 2005, and it's basically the true story of the Amityville Horror through photos and interviews with George Lutz, neighbors, local journalists, and psychics, including excerpts of a rare 1994 Ronald DeFeo Jr. interview, which was really creepy, because that guy, he definitely is missing some things. And he was the mass murderer, of course, who killed 6 of his family members in 1974. However, they go into some speculation that it was not him that did it. There's speculations, and it's funny because it actually refers to the next movie that I watched, where they refer to where some people think it was the sister that did all the murders, except obviously her own, because there's like people that it's interesting because they go through a lot of the real crime stuff, and basically there's implications that they said that someone witnessed someone walking out. Well, let me drop back a second. So Ronald DeFeo Jr. at one point said he was handed the rifle by someone wearing with black hands and a coat, and a demon is how he put it. But then someone said they saw the older sister, walking out with a rifle in the middle of the night, and placed it where they ended up finding the rifle the next day. So there were some eyewitnesses, apparently, they said, that spotted this. So then there was some speculation that they, both the brother and the sister, they had some kind of weird relationship, which now explains, if that's the case, that explains why in all the Amityville movies they seem to have these weird, creepy, incestuous sequences because I guess they kind of implied that there might have been something there.
I gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, so the way they're saying it is like, and some forensic people are saying they're, how it was, they don't think it was staged, but then they say also that they found like sedatives within the in the bloodstreams of all the family. So there's just a lot of stuff going on. But then it also, as it goes through that, it also does go through, and this is only a 50-minute documentary and it's free on YouTube, so you can find it pretty easily. It also goes through the whole haunting thing, how like they have Hans Holzer's interview, which, by the way, you got to get me a copy of that book.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Then there's so it goes through, and it has the Warrens interviewed there, and she says that that she knows there's something there, but they also go through the whole fact where they think that the Lutzes are making stuff up, and it's there's a lot of interesting viewpoints, and there's actually some footage of old Amityville, which is kind of cool, like, because there's one sequence where they just have some B-roll footage of them driving by this little shopping center. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, that's where the Five Guys is now, so it's kind of neat to see that, of course, living in Amityville, getting to see some old Amityville footage, but yeah, they interview some of the neighbors and some of the stuff, and they said, like, at one point when this story hit, they said the little guy would go out and he'd literally find people picnicking on his lawn, the neighbor's lawn, because there were so many people, and they would run up and grab pieces of the house.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. I mean, this documentary is pretty good. I mean, at 50 minutes, they pack a lot into it. So I highly suggest you guys looking that up. It's called The Real Amityville Horror, and it's just from 2015. And like I said, I guess it's a UK documentary, but they do an amazing job of covering a lot of different elements of all that, the different things about it. But the next thing I watched, so it was funny, so I was looking up what my next movie was, and the next movie after this is from 2011. It kind of jumps up, like there's been a 6-year gap, I guess, of Amityville movies. And this one's The Amityville Haunting, and they decided to do found footage. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. I love found footage, and I had just come off of seeing the amazing GoGM Haunted Asylum, which, oh my God, thank God I'm so glad you recommended me that. That movie was awesome.
Was
by
it?
The way.
I know. It was so cool.
And by far had one of the creepiest sequences I've seen, and it jumped up to the top of the list of one of the best found footage movies I've seen. They know how to do it right. They did this to perfection of what you want in a found footage movie. In contrast, this Amityville one was the worst way you could do a found footage. It was extremely cookie cutter. It checked every box, and just almost as if they were checking the boxes. Like, oh, okay, we need this here, we need this here, and they're trying to, even the tagline is like, the tape is real. It's like, basically, it's like this family moves into the Amityville house, but it's kind of done in a meta approach. Like, they know it's the Amityville house, and there's one sequence where the guy says, you're in the Amityville house, right, with all the movies, with all the books. So, and it's like this meta approach, and it's basically found footage because the bratty son who's I feel bad for this kid. He can't deliver a line. It looks like he literally they gave him one take to do the line, and whatever they got. And it just he's going around with his video camera, but then of course to add things they think they're getting broken into, so they install a video camera. Hello, Paranormal Activity ripoff. So yeah, and then they install a better one, the color version of it later on, but. And it's even how they'll do a thing where it's a to make it look like the tape stopped and then started again. They even did a bad version of that. And I'm like, but it looked like he had one of those cameras, he had one of the smaller handy cams, and they were better at avoiding that, the little skip in the tracking issues. So it's it was weird that they did that, and every so often they'd have a thing where it said tape unavailable or something, or video with this thing, and it would just be a black screen and you hear dialogue or bad imagery, and I'm just like, oh my God, this thing was, and the acting was just, for a found footage movie, they couldn't even act like they were not acting. That's how oh my God, this thing was, and this was an hour and a half, and this thing felt like 3 hours. I was I could not wait. There was maybe 2 sequences that you could maybe say, oh, okay, that's not bad. but like, and there were a couple of effects here and there that were, I guess, okay, but like, and the father is like, I guess, an ex-military guy, because everything is like, it's like, all right, this is at 1400, and I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, even Julie like stopped what she was doing and came over. She goes, this acting is horrible. And I'm like, I know. So it's like, oh my God, this is like everything how not to make a found footage movie.
What a roller coaster ride you got to watch Ganjam.
Seriously, I'm like, I felt like I have to go watch that again to clean the bad taste out of my mouth of this Amityville the Amityville haunting. Sorry. Oh my God, was this thing bad? And barely I don't even think they showed the outside of the house in full. Like, it was literally just close-ups of the house. I think maybe even the very beginning they showed it. It wasn't even the right house. It wasn't even. Didn't even look like they were remotely trying to get the new house, the real house. It was just, oh God, it was bad. But yet they managed to find. They did manage to put in some bubes though in one scene, but in the beginning, where this group of kids basically it opens with them breaking into the house, and then he finds it later on an iPhone, but like, and I'm just like, it's so weird. It's just the whole sequence of them. Why were you seeing the beginning footage like that? I don't know. It just makes no sense. So yeah, so that woman, this is by far the worst one out of the entire series that I've seen to date.
Oh wow.
So I mean, granted, like, so now, like, literally it's like Amityville Vibrator is like it's got its bar, it can't go down below. So, and I don't know exactly when that's coming. And like Sadie Katz is in a new one. I'm excited for that one. I didn't even know that one was coming out. She has a new one that they just released, a brand new Amityville. So I had to add that to my list. That wasn't even there. So yeah, that one I'm looking forward to. But of course, I'm trying to go in order, so I won't get to that for some time still. But yeah, so that one looked, yeah, it's the Amityville Harvest is hers. So it just literally just came out. Like,
I wonder if you're ever going to catch up, or if they're just going to keep making a new one as fast as you can watch them.
So, well, that's why I may start doubling down and watching 2 a week to get through this thing already, because I can't imagine, because I there's one I saw that's in the next couple of batches, but I know there's just some, I mean, there's a few I saw, actually, I should say that, but I know there's a couple in there that I'm probably going to just regret knowing they exist. But we'll see what happens, I guess. But yeah, so but might as well. But I'm so glad you're telling me about that Haunted Asylum Go GM, and I don't even want to tell you the scene that creeped me out because I don't want it to spoil for anyone. But I'll just give it a hint of it involves like the whisper kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you probably know exactly what I meant. That actually legit creeped me out.
Yeah, like, me too. And there was a number of times I jumped in that movie for sure.
Yeah, and it cracked me up too, because even David McHugh wrote up that thing about the thing he goes with all the Korean names, and then just Charlotte is in the middle of it. I said it totally is like that Hamilton, like the and Peggy. It's like the Schuyler sisters, but she was actually funny in it. Like, it had cool characters in it. Like, they were funny, and it was just.
Well, I think that's why it was so good, because you really like bond with the characters early on. They did a really good job of that.
Yeah, I mean, because they did it exactly right. The right enough build up, and then and there was a little subplot of it, them kind of setting them up, and then the real stuff happens. And they picked oh my God, the set pieces in it were amazing, and just that creepy woods they have to walk through to get to the asylum, like, just everything was done so well. I tell you, like, South Korea knows how to make horror movies. Yeah. Like, I don't think I've seen a bad one from there yet.
No, I haven't. I can't tell you one. I'm sure they do make bad ones.
Well, yeah, we would just maybe not see. But wasn't that 0.0 megahertz? Was that Korean? Because that one
I think
really
so.
Like too.
Yeah,
that one was
good.
Amazing also. So yeah,
they do really good ghost movies for sure.
Yeah.
We got to see the Joe Bob Halloween Hideaway. I could not stay up for the second movie, which was Hack-O-Lantern. But we did, unfortunately, we watched the first movie, which was Haunt, one of Brian. We had just gotten through last episode talking about that being one of our movies that our least favorite that we featured on the show. And then what does Joe Bob do but feature it on his Halloween Hideaway special? So it was kind of funny, though, because it was good in one sense, because it gave us just a third try to like this movie, and I think we still came to the conclusion we don't. But the thing that was funny about it is Joe Bob is like, he gives it 4 stars. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Does he really think it's worth 4 stars? I don't know. But anyway, when he starts talking about it in between, like everything he was saying was kind of like a criticism, but he was like turning it into a positive. Like he was talking about all the plot holes and this and that, and I'm like, everything you're saying, Joe Bob, is what I don't like about this movie. So why are you turning it into a positive?
Yeah, well, my favorite thing at the end was when he said, he goes, I know people don't like that little tacked on ending at the end of the movie, and I felt like saying I didn't like the tacked on movie after the credits, the opening credits, but I don't know. I just don't. I tell you, I just don't see why so many people love this movie. What are we missing?
I think they haven't seen a lot of haunt movies, personally. I saw a lot of people, because I was on the Monster Mania forums. I was on the Deep End of Horror forums on Facebook, and there's a lot of people that had Joe Bob threads going on those groups. And I saw a lot of people that do not like haunt and don't care for it. So we're not we may be in the minority, but we're not alone by any means. So yeah. But it was still a great time. I mean, I had a good time. I tweeted a picture of of me in my Joe Bob pajamas, which got some pretty good responses, including Darcy. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, Tim, you were the star of the night with your pajamas. Jeez.
Yeah.
I think we still got a like for that tweet like yesterday.
Yeah, it's still going.
Yeah, like Tim's pajamas, no bounds. They just keep going. They go all the way through the whole October season.
Yeah.
So then this next one, you're probably wondering what I wrote there, right, Tim?
Yeah, Pumpkin Surprise. I have no idea what this is.
I am going to blow your mind, Tim. This is going to make your day.
Okay.
So what was the one thing for the last 2 years we've been disappointed with in this holiday season? The holiday seasons for the last 2 years. Actually, you, me, and Cody.
It would be the Nestle stupid pumpkin truffles that they put out instead of the morsels.
Right. Well, I have remedied that.
Oh.
I have found a way, and I'm going to share it with you, Tim, and Cody, and I will send you supplemental documents to show you what I've done. So I decided, I'm like, well, someone else has got... First, I started down the rabbit hole here. I'm like, someone has got to else make pumpkin morsels, whether it be some fancy boutique-y place somewhere in the middle of nowhere that I have to order online from it, a ridiculous amount of expense.
Because Nestle can't just corner the market on all pumpkin morsels.
Right. Well, I mean, morsels, yes, is their term, but yes. But pumpkin chips or anything.
Yeah.
So that went to nowhere. I did not find anything. However, I do remember always seeing in Michael's, they have like those melts.
Yeah.
So I remember Wilton made pumpkin spice melts. So I looked on Target, and they had them at like a really high price for a really small bag, and they like had one left. Couldn't find them anywhere. So I kept searching and searching and searching. So finally, but I'm like, then again, I'm like, well, still, I can melt this, but what do I do? So I did a little Amazon searching, and I found they have for $11. It's a like 428 holder of where you can like a silicone mold to put melted chocolates in there to make chips. And so all you have to do is then I found Joann's Fabrics, of all things, they sell a line of pumpkin spice melts that are pretty cheap. They're like $4, and I actually got a sale where I ended up getting 6 bags for $14 because they had a sale, and I doubled it with a coupon. And I was like, I don't know where I like came from with all these craftiness things that I found, but so anyway, so it's they're called it's Food Crafting is the brand, it looks like, and it's meltables, and it's pumpkin spice. Now and then, so I was worried, and I got all this. Oh, and I also bought this little pastry bag set so I could squirt it in with a little tube, to get all fancy, So here's the thing though. So I got my bags of melts, and I still have those old bags that are expired, but I keep around for the recipe for our cookies. So I looked on the bag, and the ingredients are almost identical. The only thing different is the pumpkin spice morsels say that there's cinnamon in there. These melts don't have cinnamon listed. But I'm wondering if it was just, since they're pumpkin spice, there's got to be some kind of spice in there, so maybe they just included it under the spice thing rather than specifically say cinnamon. Anyway, long story short, today was the day I decided to try this system out. And Tim, I will tell you this. Melting it and putting that in to make these chips and came out, they taste, I'd say 99.5% identical to the Nestle morsels.
Oh, nice.
So you can, for my Watch Fest, which you of course will have passed by the time you hear this, I will be making those cookies again. The Halloween crack cookies that we love so much are there, and I'm going to send you something now, Tim. I'm going to send you a picture of the morsels that I made so you could see what they look like. So I've just sent them to you. You're going to be impressed that some of them actually look like Nestle morsels from pumpkin. They do have some have a dome shape, but
they look like they were store-bought almost.
Yeah, but because that was the bag that I used actually was a pretty good pastry bag, and just by doing it, you just drop it in and yank it up, and it does a little curl on it, and then you just after they're in the fridge for like 20 minutes. They get hardened again. You take them out and you pop them over and you just pop out the back because it's a silicone mold. So I'm going to send you all the things that you need to get. So, I mean, literally, so for the pastry bag and the silicone mold for the chips, it comes to $20 together. Wow. And then if you buy if you have a Joann's near you and you can kind of catch it on a sale or use a 20% off coupon or something, they've always got coupons. You can probably get and one bag probably made close to like 300 chips. Or something like that. So, and I still have 5 bags left. So worst comes to worst, if you're having trouble, I'll send you a bag. But yeah, so, and this really was not that hard once you get the hang of it. So, and it's like literally you melt the chocolate in a bowl in the microwave, and it tells you right on the bag how to melt it. And then you just put it in the pastry bag, bloop, 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 in all the little big silicone molds you got. And that's it. And now you can actually make those pumpkin cookies again.
Nice. Very well done, Brian.
This has made my whole, Halloween season because I'm so excited to make those cookies this week.
Nice. All right, guys, so let's get to our main feature this week, Trick or Treat from 2007. Hard to believe this movie's 13 years old at this point. But it was directed by Michael Dougherty and stars the great Dylan Baker as Stephen, Rochelle Ailes as Maria, Quinn Lord as Sam / Peeping Tommy. Which I didn't know until I read the trivia that he was the same kid that played Sam. Lauren Lee Smith as Danielle, Monica Delane as Janet, Tomo Penniquet as Henry, Brett Kelly as Charlie, Britt McKillop as Macy, Isabel DeLuche as Sarah, Jean-Luc Bilodeau, Alberto Gizzi as Chip, Sam Todd as Rhonda, Anna Paquin as Lori, Brian Cox as Mr. Krieg, and Leslie Bibb as Emma.
Yeah, I forgot who Jean-Luc Bilodeau's character was. Sorry there. I forgot that.
Oh, yeah. 5 interwoven stories that occur on Halloween. An everyday high school principal has a secret life as a serial killer. A college virgin might have just met the guy for her. A group of teenagers pull a mean prank. A woman who loathes the night has to contend with her holiday-obsessed husband. And a mean old man meets his match with a demonic supernatural trick-or-treater. And I'm sure most of our listeners have seen this movie by now. If you haven't, it's one of the best thematically Halloween-feeling movies that is out there.
Yeah.
I mean, Tales of Halloween's pretty good too, but
yeah.
But unlike Tales of Halloween, which I love that movie, don't get me wrong. So any criticism is not to in any way to not recommend that movie because it's another favorite of mine. But Tales of Halloween is a little more sprawling, I think, because it's got a lot of different stories going on.
Well, and it's a true anthology. Boom, boom, boom. Here's a story. Here's a story. Here's a story. Here's a story kind of thing. So
yeah, the great thing I like about Trick or Treat is that it doesn't have a traditional wraparound. It
wraps around itself
it does.
3 times.
Yeah, all of its stories interweave, and that's one of the best things about the movie is because every time I watch it, I think I've noticed some other little new element that kind of interweaves in with something else, and I love that about this movie. And that's tricky to pull off. I mean, anthologies are hard enough as it is. Creating a good wraparound is hard enough. But then when you have to take disparate stories and then combine them and have them reference each other, it's pretty amazing. I don't see it done very often because it is so difficult to do.
Well, this is an anthology that almost plays out like a regular narrative movie at some levels, because if you notice, it's like there's some times where two of the individual stories are kind of happening simultaneously. And if you technically, Dylan Baker's story kind of blends into a couple of different stories, and he's like, so it's like there's certain characters that totally, of course, the Sam, or Burp Smap as our good buddies Kim and Ket like to say, which I'm surprised I actually called him Sam and not Burp Smap there first. But yeah, so, but that's what's so cool about it, is I think it's like, really, it's like, until you get to that final great last sequence, you're pretty much going kind of bouncing around through different tales. Yeah. And it's kind of cool. And even that tale still has tie-ins to other parts of the movie. So it's like, I don't even know like how Michael Dougherty did this one. He must have sat there with like a desk that looked like NASA plans with like papers all over the place, like Post-its hanging from the rafters, because like the fact that he did it is so expertly crafted, really, this whole sequences. And even if you take just the individual stories on themselves, they're all great. But like the way to intertwine them in there, with still managing to happen all within basically a couple of hours of a Halloween night, is astounding. And like, just there's nothing like that. That one shot of like that, which is actually, it's in the trivia. It was actually a event in Vancouver, I guess, that they do every year for Halloween. There's that one shot of just everyone in the crowd walking through the town, and they're in this busy store buying last minute costumes. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the way I always want Halloween to be, and it's like where there's a hustle and bustle and just pure excitement by everybody in the whole town, and you don't find that many places anymore like that, and it's like,
oh yeah, that's so what cool. I love about even watching Hubie Halloween on Netflix, is these Halloween set movies always have these towns where like every house is decorated and every street is like, they go all in on Halloween, which I mean, I suppose there are some towns out there maybe that do that, maybe like Salem or something, but around here, like on my street, we've got maybe 3 people that have decorated. And this is like a residential neighborhood where you would think it would be a little more common. But of course, this year kind of is a little different. I know some people probably just didn't feel like it. But you rarely see like the level of Halloween that in real life that you see in the movies. And that's why I like these movies, because it kind of transports you to this place that would be like your dream town where everybody's just all in on it. And that's always a lot of fun, seeing all the decorations and stuff they do. I mean, in real life, nobody's going to have 30 carved pumpkins on their porch. I mean, there might be that one guy that does that, but it's not going to be like every house like in this movie.
Well, and what's too is like, it's like, it's like the same thing that you get when you see a good Christmas movie. You have that. And actually, I did experience that once in a Christmas version of it. That it was actually around the time when Steve and his wife Nicole got married. They happened to have it the same weekend in Rhinebeck, New York, where they have this festival called Sinterklaas, where they celebrate Christmas but with their Dutch heritage. And like literally Santa Claus, like I think, arrives on a boat, but the whole town is like bustling with like Christmas stuff going on and all this going back and forth. And sadly, I was looking up because I wanted to confirm the way I said it, but they canceled it, of course, this year due to the pandemic. So once again, because we can't manage this thing, sadly, so many events that people just live for every year, and financially and just emotionally can't happen. But yeah, so that to me is one of my I think that's what makes this movie stand out, is that, like, by a bare minimum, he captures the feel of the Halloween that everybody wants, whether they get it experientially or it's how they keep it, like, not to sound cheesy, but within their hearts, like we see all our friends on in the horror community, how like there's some that just love Halloween, and every day they're just posting their houses decorated, and especially like Tony from Ghost Girls, she's got so many amazing things she keeps posting every day, like from her, with her Halloween theme, and Cassie, has all that stuff, and it's amazing because like that, but that's kind of like, that's what he captures that in this movie. So for like, what some may look off as just a horror anthology, to the person that doesn't know it, they're missing out on something that's just you don't get very often from a movie.
Yeah. All the stories in this one, unlike most anthologies, which usually have a dud or two, and maybe one big standout, I think all of these stories in this one are pretty solid, and definitely no duds. And there's really not like a super standout either. I mean, I guess you could argue Sam being the most popular character, his entry might be the standout, but to me, they just feel like they're all equally balanced. And even though some are shorter than the others, the way they intertwine, you never feel like you're, like you said, just going from one story to the next story to the next story. So you kind of lose whether this one had a longer running time than that one, because they all kind of just blend together in this nice little package. And I just love the way it's constructed that way, because you don't have that comparison in a normal anthology where you're like, oh, well, this is this story, and then this is this story right beside it, and I could tell that this second story is way better than that first story. You don't get that.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is like, because my favorite two are the ones is the Mr. Krieg and Sam one at the end, of course, because it's like, it's such a culmination of the whole movie, and it's got little burpee smap there, but also because I love the story with the bus and the kids, because that's like a cool horror tale that you might feel like you could have heard, and it's just so creepy, and the fact how the way they tie it into the whole movie is just so cool. I mean, it's like, and that one's like a creepy story,
That one's probably the most creep show-esque story, I guess.
Yeah.
Because,
absolutely.
Because the opening sequence, the opening titles has a comic book intro, so it does remind you a lot of like EC Comics and Creepshow, and that, to me, that story, well, I guess, and to some extent the werewolf story as well. But
actually, the last one too, if you think about it, reminds you of almost like the E.G. Marshall one with the cockroaches, but instead this time he's an old hermit dealing with a of course, more of a Scrooge reference in this case, but an old hermit dealing with a force, and really nobody wants to help him anyway. So
yeah, I actually let Anna watch this with me today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now there are
actually, it's not that bad. Well, I mean, there's a couple of, I guess, there's some bubes in the
there's
some
TV there's screen. Some brief like sexual situations that I wasn't real keen on her seeing, but I just told her up front. I said, "Look, you're gonna see some things here that are adult, but she knows what's adult, what's not adult, and she knows what to repeat and what not to repeat. I mean, she's pretty shrewd, and for her age, she knows." I mean, God, I was watching stuff like that. I was watching like way worse stuff.
I was
like
watching
this when
way
I was
worse.
at 8 years old. So I kind of trust her, and she's very mature. So she watched it. She absolutely loved it. And there's not a whole lot of like gore type stuff in here. I mean, there is, but it's more, I don't know. To me, it's a little more comical. And other than the brief sexual situations, I think it's not a bad introductory horror film for kids. I mean, you have to judge your own kid, obviously.
What? And actually, it's funny you said that, because it's actually in the trivia too. Every single death in the movie occurs off camera. So if it's obstructed by something, you don't actually see it. Or it cuts away right before the camera dies, and and as it says here, that's a rare feat for a horror film. So it's like, but like you probably didn't even notice it. Like I don't even think I realized that.
Yeah. Until
I read the trivia, and I'm like, oh. That's how well done it was that I didn't even notice it, because you didn't miss it. You didn't miss the deaths. You know that you didn't even realize you were fooled into thinking you saw these deaths happen when it was really you didn't. You saw it before and right after. So,
what would you say is your favorite story out of the entire movie?
So I think it's. I mean, like I said, I think I love the bus one, because I think to me that's just a great ghost story tale. That like you could picture being like a tale that circulates through where your town is or wherever it is, but I and of course I do love the Sam one at the end, but the thing is I think those they're almost connected. They're obviously connected. I mean, but so it's like I don't know. I think like as terms of the plot point, I like the ghost kids on the bus, but. Probably the best sequence still is the fight between Sam and Mr. Krieg.
Yeah, I got to give it to Sam for this one just because I love that character. And it's pretty crazy that a movie like this, which did not spawn sequels and did not spawn a franchise, although
they're trying, though.
I do hope, yeah. But that the Sam character is so popular. I mean, I still see Sam stuff out in like mainstream stores, like Party City and stuff. There's big.
It's
Sam
getting bigger. It's like there's new stuff every year.
Yeah, so it's almost like it's become sort of like a kind of a cult movie, but it's just fascinating to me that they did it without any sequels or anything. It's just a one-time 2007 movie, and somehow that character just really connected with people.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's really, if you think about it, he intertwines throughout all the different the scenes, but he's like, but he's essentially the mascot of the film regardless. So it's kind of funny. He's the perfect character because, a lot of people say like, is he like the embodiment of Halloween into one, kind of thing. So which makes sense. So
yeah, and it reminded me of the how good they did it with the Trick or Treat house at Universal.
Oh my god,
that was so much fun. Yeah, that was great.
And now that stinks because now like that would have been great. Anna could have gone in that house; she would have liked it.
Oh yeah. So I guess we should go through some of the trivia here.
Yeah, there's a lot. So
we'll just kind of pick and choose. We've talked about a couple of these. This one I had wondered about because when we were watching it today, Anna was talking about all the jack-o'-lanterns because we talked about some of these houses have like 30 jack-o'-lanterns in the yard, but they were all made out, or it said most were made out of either foam or ceramic. So not a lot of real pumpkins, which makes sense because once you carve a pumpkin, it rots pretty quick.
Yeah. This one's pretty cool. So it says the gumball rolling down the stairs is a nod to The Changeling. It says another horror film shot in Vancouver, and it turned out the cameraman working on the sequence also filmed the ball scene in The Changeling. So it was one of his first gigs in the business. So how funny is that he got hired to basically do an homage to one of his coolest shots he probably did.
I like this one. Brian Cox's appearance was based on John Carpenter.
Oh my god, I see that. I could see that.
I could definitely see that. Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, so here's a good one, and this kind of probably explains why they captured that spirit. So it says many of the extras during the parade sequences are members of Vancouver's Parade of Lost Souls who do it every Halloween in the streets. So that whole sequence I was mentioning it's all done by people who do it every year. So it probably that's one of the reasons why it probably looks so fun and natural.
Yeah. Now this one is really, really cool. So the performers under the mask playing the kids on the school bus all had real disabilities or injuries. And it says here they apparently had a blast during the shoot. Their costumes were inspired by a mix of photos from Ralph Meatyard and Diane Arbus capturing real mentally disabled children on Halloween in their own homemade costumes. But that's really cool.
Yeah.
That they invited special needs kids to participate in that. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great that they did that, and that is still that scene just works so effectively. So here's one that I didn't notice. I like it's funny all the times I saw this, like you said too. You catch something new every time. I had read this trivia when I was setting up the notes for it, and then I went to look for it in the movie, and it really is blatantly obvious at some parts. So it says the conversation of Lori, Danielle, Maria, and Janet as they're trying on their costumes for the first time foreshadows that they are actually werewolves. Because, I think there's one line she says something like, oh, yeah, they all taste the same. And then there's another thing she said. There was another line she said. Like, you got to watch it again when she says a line that's so blatant, like, werewolf reference.
Oh, man. See, I need to go back and watch that because I don't think I ever caught that.
Yeah, so there's at least 3 lines that basically clue into that they're werewolves. The one with the one that tastes the same, that could be implied as anything, but the other one was there's a line that she said right when they walk out of they were all out with their costumes. One of them says something, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so like, how did I miss that ever?
Yeah, that's super cool. So any of you who haven't seen this movie, definitely put it at the top of your list because I think you'll really love it. It's one of my favorite anthologies for sure. I've got the. Did you ever buy the graphic novel he did of the other Trick or Treat stories?
No, I need to get that though.
Yeah, that's really good. It kind of since we don't have a sequel yet, which I'm thinking at some point he will do a sequel.
He's been working on it. He says he says it's just it's one of those things he's still working on. So I'm fine with it if he takes another 10 years but comes up with one as perfect as this one.
Oh yeah,
it's worth the wait.
Yeah. All right, Brian. So I'm definitely looking forward to what you got for the beer pairing this week, because this was like primed for a pumpkin beer pairing.
Yes. So of course I got one. It's called Trick or Treat.
That works.
From Evil Genius Beer Company. You got to see some of the names for these. These names are like all pop culture references, their names, so it's pretty cool. It's 7.8%, and here's what it is. It says, Trick or Treat is our pumpkin porter brewed with chocolate and spices. This is not your typical pumpkin beer by any means. This is a deep, dark, decadent, seasonal delight that is sure to warm you up as the weather starts to cool off. First, we brew a rich, robust porter that is spiced with cinnamon, clove, and nutmeg. Then we up the ante and make it truly our own by adding chocolate post-fermentation. Trick or Treat is a spicy, rich, unique, and full-bodied dark ale with all the comfort and warmth needed to survive the chilly and ever-lengthening autumn nights. Doesn't that just sound delightful, Tim?
It does. It does. It sounds perfect. And I guess we're kind of winding down on pumpkin beer season, technically, but I've still got a bunch in the fridge, so
I was drinking in June this pumpkin, so this is a long one for me. But that's just because our local brewery happened to make it, so that was great.
Yeah, I'll be drinking these through the holidays, I'm sure. All right, so our triple threat last week, we were looking for a movie, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I started to change them up. I started to go to movies now.
Yeah, I like that. So the answer was Blood Diner. Clue number 1, the movie was originally going to be a sequel to a classic 60s horror film. However, before production started, they decided it would be a remake of sorts instead. Yeah, so of course, originally Blood Diner was to be a sequel to the Herschel Gordon Lewis classic 1963's Blood Feast.
Yes.
Clue number 2, upon release, this movie was banned in a number of provinces in Canada, which was true. Clue number 3, this movie director's last name is the same as one of the more regal monsters in history. So, of course, we were talking about King Kong, but the director was a Queen Kong. The director of Blood Diner was, of course, Jackie Kong.
Yes.
Shared the last name. All right, so this week we're looking for another movie. And this one's a fun one, I think. All right, so clue number 1, listen carefully. I had brief appearances by 2 stars from the original film in my franchise. So this is a franchise film that contains brief appearances by 2 stars from the original. Clue number 2, the tagline for this film was almost identical to the first film in the series. And clue number 3, while this film is the director's first directing credit, this is not his first credit as part of the franchise.
I think this is a gettable one, though. It's tricky, but...
I think I would have gotten this one, possibly, if I didn't know the answer already. But yeah, this is a really good one. I like this one a lot.
Well, thank you.
All right, so on to our fan topic food question of the week, and I'm losing my voice, so apologies ahead of time. But
I think this is a pretty easy one for both of us to answer, I think.
Yeah, I think so. This is another one coming courtesy of Horror Mailman David McHugh, and it's very simple. Zombie movie or ghost movie?
Well, for me, not even a question. It's definitely ghost movie. I said zombie, we've said how many zombie movies have tired us out. And of course, there's my favorites in the zombie genre. But if I had a choice, always going to be a ghost movie, I think just go. And for the sheer reason that I think ghost movies have way more potential to be unique and original, and you can do a lot more type of things with a ghost movie than a zombie film. I know there are some zombie films that have taken great licenses and done some great things, like, Out of the Apocalypse. Of course, we love Train to Busan. What was the other one we said we really liked the way they did it? They kind of did something a little different, and we kind of liked it.
Oh, I mean, there's so many. There's like Dead Don't Die.
Oh, yeah, Dead Don't Die. Yeah. So, but still, I mean, like, in the end, though, like, ghost movie, I think there's a lot more involved. Like, the zombie movies still at heart are all the kind of the same.
Yeah.
But I think a good ghost movie can really just, I think.
Well, here's the problem to me is and I agree with you. It's ghost movie all the way for me. But here's the problem with zombie movies. They all kind of have to take place in the apocalypse, right? Because it has to take place when zombies are now roaming the earth. Whereas a ghost movie can be set anytime. You can have modern day ghost movies. You can have Victorian ghost movies. You're not confined to a time period or setting like the same way you are with a zombie film. So,
although I did see a zombie western just recently. Well, we saw Revelation Trail. That was a good one. But then I saw another one that was not so great for the horror challenge that took place in the Old West zombie movie. But I'm saying that, but that's where they needed to go because people probably got tired of apocalypse zombie movies. But you're right, though. That's a good point because a ghost movie can pretty much, there are people there that really are convinced that they saw a ghost yesterday or they saw a ghost. There's a ghost in their apartment currently. But
right.
how many people you hear say, oh, yeah, there's a zombie walking down the street the other day.
Yeah, well, I grew up loving ghost stories. When I was little, I remember, from the time I was in elementary school, I would check out every ghost story book they had in the library. That's all I read was ghost story books. And that continued on up through my childhood. Then when I used to watch ghost movies with my grandma. And so that's always been a part of my life since I was as far back as I can remember. I'm talking like kindergarten, first grade, I was reading ghost stories. So that's just embedded in me, like that love for ghost stuff. And then, of course, with the ghost hunter shows and everything continues to this day. Zombie movies, I didn't know anything about zombies until I saw Night of the Living Dead, and it kind of seeped into pop culture. And when I started catching up on horror is when I started watching all these classic zombie movies. But I had years and years of ghost stuff already before I ever saw my first zombie. So that's why I will always pick a ghost movie. And for the other reasons we mentioned, there's just more variety there. And frankly, I think they're scarier. I don't find zombies scary particularly. But a ghost thing, that can get scary in a number of different ways because ghosts can be invisible. They can be visible. They can take different forms. I mean, there's so much fluidity there you can work with that one. Yeah, no question, hands down, ghost every time.
When I saw this one, I'm like, okay, it's nice. We got a nice, easy question here.
Yeah, like if it was one of these things where it said you can only have one for the rest of your life and the other one ceases to exist,
I mean, I still think Ghost, but I mean,
get rid of the zombie movies. I'll take Ghost all day long. All right, so thanks for that question. That was awesome. We will see you guys back here next week. It's kind of hard to believe that after this show, Halloween is no more. We'll be thinking forward to the holidays, but Brian has just outdone himself. He has already generated our entire slate of holiday movies, so this is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, we got 4 Thanksgiving ones, and I think 3 Christmas, 2 Christmas, 1 Hanukkah ones. So the rest of our slate are going to be all seasonally themed. I couldn't believe it took a while to get 4 Thanksgiving ones, considering that 2 of them I had to eliminate right away, which were Thanksgiving 2 and 3, and Blood Rage, which we have done already. So, but
we still got to do our Planes, Trains commentary. I think
we do.
Completely off topic.
Yes, and we do have our holiday gift guide coming up, which we have a special guest coming on for that. Which I'll leave for a surprise, but we'll have a special guest coming over that. We're going to focus mostly, I think, on this year. We decided we're going to be primarily small businesses for our holiday gift guide. We're going to really scrounge to find some good small stores. Not anyone can go on Amazon, but we're going to try and feature find really little shops and little online stores that really could help all the people in that industry, who's probably kind of suffered through this pandemic, with the lack of horror cons and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, so we'll see you back here next week. Have a good one.
See you later.